everyone, I'm Jessica Stutzman and welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. Lead is a naturally occurring element found in small amounts in the Earth's crust. While it has some beneficial uses, it can be toxic to humans and animals, causing severe health effects. Lead can be found in all parts of our environment, the air, the soil, the water, and even inside of our homes. Joining us today to inform our viewers on the hazards and mitigation of lead exposure are Kelly Neville, Housing Rehabilitation Coordinator, and Aaron Snippert, Director of Housing Programs for the Erie Redevelopment Authority. Thank you so much for joining me today on this topic. I really appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Like
Thanks.
I said, I know talking with you guys in the past and, reading my intro and doing some research, lead exposure actually very, very much concerns me, not only as an adult, but, like I said, I was recently pregnant and now we have an 8-month-old, and I know there's a lot of people that can be affected by lead exposure. So, before we really get into why lead is so hazardous, the first thing I want to do is touch on the Redevelopment Authority. Tell me a little bit about who you guys are.
We are, like you said, the Erie Redevelopment Authority. We administer grants for the City of Erie, Erie County, and also for HUD through our lead hazard control program. Mm-hmm. Through those grants, we provide rehabilitation services and assistance to homeowners throughout Erie County to help mitigate lead hazards or other rehabilitation issues that they may be having.
And how long has your organization been around?
Oh, it's been around for quite a while. I'm not exactly sure how long. We've been administering lead grants since 2003.
Perfect.
And continuously doing that in an effort to minimize and mitigate the lead hazards.
Yeah, well, and I know, like I said, that the community is extremely grateful for this opportunity to be able to work with you guys and mitigate any lead hazards. And you've done approximately how many home mitigations? Approximately
right now, probably around about 1,000.
That's
a little
incredible.
Over at this point.
Yeah, and so I guess the next thing we should move into, because you guys have done such incredible work, and like I said, finding these grants that are available. But what is lead? I mentioned a little bit in my intro, but what is lead?
Lead is a heavy metal. Mm-hmm. It's an element naturally mined and found in the ground, and it's been found in many items throughout history, through cosmetics, paint, batteries contain lead. Mm-hmm. Just many products that you can buy, in every store.
Yeah, and so, and it was found in paint up until what year?
1978 is when they finally put a ban on it in the United States.
Okay, and so that's of concern because there's a lot of houses, in Erie County that may have been painted with lead paint, but lead paint is only a problem if it's chipping, is that right?
It's one of the signs of lead-based paint.
Oh, okay.
Lead-based paint, because of its adhesion properties, breaks up and flakes off in large chunks.
Oh, okay.
But the biggest hazard is dust, which is created from friction surfaces, such as windows, old wood windows when people open and close them, creates lead dust. Or a door, a front door, they're opening and closing, coming and going, and every time that door strikes that paint, creates the dust. And the dust is what actually is the hazard.
Oh, I see. Okay, and so from there, if you live in a home that you might have lead exposure, you're basically inhaling this dust or ingesting this dust, and that's how it's affecting your health.
Yes.
Okay. And why was lead used all of these years if it is so harmful? Why did we use it in these products? Because
of its durability, really was the biggest part. It was used primarily, one is a colorant because they used white lead. A lot of the older homes, the white paint on it is what tests positive for lead. It was used for the color, but also durability. It was moisture resistant and mildew resistant. So kitchen, bathroom paint and exterior paint was a good source of it because it lasted. Okay. And they didn't feel there was a hazard back when they were using it.
I see. And so how many homes in Erie County, like I said, there are a lot that were built before 1978, how many might be affected by this?
There's approximately 87,000 homes in Erie County built before 1978.
87,000?
Yeah, 87.
That's a lot. That's really, like I said, of a big concern to me. So, and I see a lot of rental properties that might be affected by this as well.
Absolutely. And the rentals is probably one of the biggest concerns. They're usually where, most of the the maintenance issues have been, let go for a long time, and there's a lot more hazards in there since the occupants usually, they don't quite take care of the maintenance issues.
Right. Okay. And how many homes do you think are rental properties in the city that might be affected by this?
Approximately 8,600.
8,600. Okay. And you guys have, like I said, have done a lot of work to mitigate some of these homes. You work with homeowners, you work with renters, but we really need to just keep spreading the word that this is available to them.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
And you just, again, you said the interior painted surfaces, the exterior surfaces, soil, toys. That's scary that toys might have some lead paint. And you guys said a specific toy was found even not that long ago to contain lead.
Yeah, Thomas the Tank, there was a lawsuit back early 2000s that there was found to be some of their toys were found with lead in it, and they were recalled. It's whether or not all of those were recalled and taken off. They could still be out there, so you really don't know.
Right.
A lot of older toys, still floating around in grandparents' houses, still contain lead-based paint.
Oh, that's very true. That's such a good point. I know so many people, save their kids' toys and, my daughter, my son played with this toy. Now I want my grandchildren to play with this toy. And, if it was, from the era of being made with, some lead-containing product, we really have to make sure that the little kids don't get their hands on it. And like I said, with my daughter being so young and being an infant, at this point, every toy she plays with ends up in her mouth. So, that is, again, another area for concern for toys. Makeup and furniture. I didn't even realize furniture might have this.
Oh yeah, you got a lot of older furniture, things people had in their houses that were painted, and now they're starting to recycle those and turn them into other products, or reuse some of those things. So now they're bringing those products back into the home, and some of those things, if they were painted with lead-based paint, those are a hazard, especially dressers opening and closing those drawers, creating that dust.
That's a good
could be
point.
an issue.
Oh my gosh, this gives me so much to think about. I just, I really just want to go home and check everything in my house. And I really think our viewers should, really sit up and pay attention to this. So who is affected by this?
People really of any race, age, or economic level can be poisoned. Those that are at higher risks are infants, children under the age of 6, pregnant women, and also women of childbearing age as well. Infants and children under the age of 6, because they're constantly putting things in their mouth. Like you said, your daughter is 8 months old, so she's probably constantly maybe chewing on things or
she's
touching.
Teething, and so absolutely.
Yeah, so they get that lead dust on their hands, and then they end up getting on their toys and they put that stuff in their mouth. So they're ingesting the lead dust, which is in turn poisoning them.
Right.
Really.
And I think you just mentioned, you made such a good point, and I just want to come back to it. This is obviously a great show for parents and people of children, but a great show for grandparents. How many times, do grandparents have, babysit their grandchildren and have them over in their house, and like you said, may have older furniture, older toys, older homes.
Right.
So not only should the parents of these kids have this checked out, but so should grandparents.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And like you said, how does the poisoning occur? Either, like I said, inhaling or ingesting it.
Right.
Those are the two main methods.
Correct. Yeah, the lead dust is definitely the number one way.
Okay. And so what oh my gosh, God forbid that, somebody does ingest or inhale it. Well, then what happens? What's the effect?
Actually, this form here, you can see some of the effects, and I'll touch on more of them.
Yeah, let's lift this up here.
Learning disabilities, attention disabilities, lower IQ, speech and language delays, behavioral problems, poor muscle coordination. There's very severe effects that can be caused by lead poisoning that people, I feel, might not be aware of, but definitely some serious issues there when it comes to lead poisoning.
And I don't know about adults, but children can get checked out by their doctor. Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Typically, right around the age of 1 is when they would do the testing.
Okay.
But yeah, anything, the Redevelopment Authority considered anything over a 5 would be a priority to us. In going through the program, we would make that home a top priority for us.
Okay. And by a 5, what do you mean by that?
The level in which it's a venous blood draw is how they would test it. So at a rating of 5 in their blood as far as the level of lead is a concern for the CDC. And at that point, it steps up in severity from there, depending upon what would need to be done to that child to fix the problem.
Okay, and so what does the redevelopment authority provide to help, again, if somebody were a 5 or, maybe one of the other lower numbers of exposure, but what does the redevelopment authority provide?
First is education. We try to educate as many people as we can about lead-based paint hazards and the issues to the children. And then at that point, we would provide rehabilitation assistance to mitigate those lead-based paint hazards and minimize the exposure to the children while they're in the homes, whether their own home or their grandparents' home or another family member's home.
And so there's also training for contractors who are in the area to do this, right? Because should contractors working on the homes that may have lead-based paint, do they have to be certified?
Yes, our contractors to work on the program, they're certified through the state of Pennsylvania as lead abatement contractors, which, their supervisors trained, all the workers are trained in how to protect the home, protect the soil outside, and ultimately make the property lead safe. The redevelopment authority provide some of that training to them. We bring in a trainer and do that. And we also provide renovate, repair, and paint training to the general contractors who it's required by the Environmental Protection Agency to work on pre-78 housing.
Okay. So all of that, we're going to reduce the childhood lead poisoning, reduce lead hazards in the home, and then in a roundabout way, improve the older housing stock in Erie County. So who qualifies for your program? Because I really want to get this message out.
Okay. Applicants can be homeowners or tenants. Tenants must have their landlord's permission to participate in the program.
Okay.
So landlords are required to provide 20% towards the project cost. 80% is covered by the grant that the authority receives. A child under the age of 6 must live or visit the property. So like you said, grandparents, that's a perfect opportunity for the grandparents to apply because most likely they'll have a child that visits the property.
Right.
Homes must be occupied. Taxes and city utilities must be current as well. The home must be structurally sound, and there are income qualifications that the family must meet. So for example, if there's a family of 4, they can't exceed $50,950 on an annual basis.
Okay. And what if, for those income requirements, where should, I know that was just an example, but where should they go to, or where should our viewers go to if they want to find out more information about those income requirements?
They would call us directly at the office.
Okay.
The main number. Typically I answer the phone. So I can go over all, kind of pre-qualify them, kind of go over what we would require, and then if they meet the qualifications, I would send them out an application.
Okay, great. And so, if you qualify, again, give your office a call, let you know. What happens next? What's the next step?
After we get a completed and approved application, we would perform a risk assessment, where we have a couple certified risk assessors in our office that will go out to the property, test the home. Typically takes about 3 to 4 hours for the testing. We use an XRF gun to test, and Aaron can touch on that a little bit more.
Yeah, the XRF gun is a radioactive instrument, and it allows us to do a non-destructive test on the property. So basically we come into the property, and when we leave, you don't even know we were there, but it'll test up to 3/16 of an inch of paint, and it'll determine how much lead is within that 1 inch square area of there. And that'll then determine what we can do to the property. We utilize that report to develop a work scope for our contractors to give us prices on to then mitigate those lead-based paint hazards. Okay,
and so when you go out with this device to test for the lead, are you testing, do you with this detection gun, do you test the windows, the door, the paint on the walls, the toys? What are you looking for exactly?
We will test every painted surface in the property, structural components. We do not test toys, we don't test furniture, but we will test if it's painted and hasn't been renovated to any time after pre-78, post-78. We'll test it with the gun to determine, lead. So window trim, baseboards, walls, floors if they're painted, ceilings, exterior, trims, porches, basement walls, foundation walls, everything. If it's got a coat of paint on it, we're going to test it with the gun.
Okay. So this is a really extensive like you said, non-invasive home test that's going to be done.
Correct.
To see, where the problem lies. From your experience, does it seem to be one particular area over another, like the windows versus the floors or something like that?
It would probably be primarily exterior surfaces. On the interior, it would be baseboards.
Okay.
But on the exterior, you're looking at window trims, if it's wood windows, window sashes, door trims, the jamb, the door slab, porch floors is a big one, porch beams, overhangs. Primarily exterior painted surfaces is where we find a substantial amount of lead.
Okay. And are you guys, I know you work with this daily, are you ever surprised by your findings?
Yes, still to this point, a couple years ago, we got a new XRF instrument, which allowed us to, it goes a lot higher in its readings. And the amount of lead in some of our readings is extremely high.
Wow.
So it's just shocking to see it. And we still find it. And just some of the places we do find it is odd sometimes. And, I'm trying to figure out how it got there sometimes is pretty amazing.
Yeah, probably baffling.
Yeah.
And so I know this is based on people who send you applications, but typically where does the majority of the testing being done? Is it usually in the city of Erie, or is it further out in the county? What are you guys seeing?
We're doing a considerable amount of properties in the city of Erie. Millcreek, we do a fair amount in. Not as much out in the county as we would hope, but we do quite a bit within the Millcreek in the city of Erie.
Right. And of course, out in the county, I think obviously that their homes were built before this time period too, and we just need to educate and get the message out there that, if you qualify, your home should be tested and really get involved with you guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, go ahead.
There is no cost to the homeowners to get, if they qualify for the program, we'll test the property and figure out where the lead is. There's no cost to them until we were to go to construction. At that point, the owners only have to pay $100.
Okay. That's incredible.
It's a very small fee too.
It is. It is for something, so monumental, and making sure your health, like I said, I know there's a few groups that are at risk, maybe more than others, but even for, adults, but for such a big health risk, the service you're providing is very, very beneficial, and we're really appreciative. But I want to get back to the process here so our residents and our viewers know what to expect. So again, after we have the assessment done and the gun has come out and tested all of the surfaces, what happens next?
At that point, we would begin working up a work scope, incorporating the results that we received from the risk assessment.
And that would be replacing windows, replacing doors. Those are probably our two primary ones. On the exterior would be wrapping the overhangs if they're painted wood, putting some type of aluminum vinyl enclosure on those to encapsulate or enclose those lead-based paint hazards. All those issues would then be worked into the scope, and then we would bid it out to our contractors.
Okay.
And then, we select the contractor from our bids and award it to them, and at that point they would schedule it and get ready to perform the lead hazard control. Okay,
and there's a lot going on here. How long does this process normally take from start to finish, do you think?
From application to completion is roughly 3 to 4 months.
Oh my gosh, I think that's a really quick turnaround time for for a problem. I think that's been sitting for so long.
Right.
A 3 to 4 month turnaround time is very quick.
Right.
That's incredible. So tell me, what are your recommendations for our viewers moving forward? What should they do if they think that their home falls within the scope of this?
Well, if the property was built before 1978, first and foremost, we'd recommend that the children get tested that are under the age of 6 by their doctor. Also, cleaning your home regularly. Typically, we recommend just a damp cloth with just water, cleaning daily, cleaning the toys, cleaning the windowsills, really anywhere, especially if you have small children, anywhere that they can reach or have access to. You want to make those areas very clean. That would prevent that ingestion of the lead dust.
Okay.
And then, call us. Call us. We have our numbers right here on a brochure. You can pick these up in the office. Our number's on here. This explains the program a little more in detail, or just by calling the office, you can talk to one of our employees and find out further details about the program.
Thank you so much for touching on all of this. The last thing I want to ask, what requirements do the contractors who win the bid, what requirements do they have coming in to do the work? What are they required to do?
They're required to basically set up containment of the area. Any of their work, any of the dust, the paint chips, things like that, they have to contain it. They have to, any of the items they remove from the property, they have to wrap in plastic and place into a dumpster. And ultimately, when they're done with the property, they have to get it cleared. We come in and we dust wipe the property, make sure that there are no lead-based hazards left. All the paint's been, prepped and painted, and everything is safe for the family to reoccupy the property when we're done.
Okay.
So that's, all mandated by the state, and we make sure that they follow what they're supposed to do.
Right. Because containment of this, like you said, just the dust flying in the air from the work being done can also pose a hazard. So, and tell me about daycare facilities and schools. Do they need to worry about this as well?
Daycare facilities and schools, they're covered by the renovate, repair, and paint. If they're having work done in the property, they're required to have a contractor who is RRP certified perform the work. It's made to help prevent the exposure of lead-based paint during the renovation activities.
Okay.
So our grant does not cover child-occupied facilities unless it is an in-home daycare. We're only allowed to touch residential properties, but everybody should really, if they live in a 1978 house, if they don't qualify for our program, they should be aware that their contractors that work on their houses should be certified and should be well aware of the hazards that they would pose to them as occupants of the property.
And that was a good point to make. That's what I want to touch on too, is what happens if somebody doesn't qualify for your program? And you said look for that contractor who is RRP certified. What does that stand for, RRP?
RRP stands for Renovate, Repair, and Paint.
Okay.
It was mandated in April of 2010 that any contractor that serves more than 6 square feet of painted surface during a renovation project be certified.
Okay.
They go through almost a simplified process of the training that our contractors do, and it allows them to know what they need to do to contain their work area and clean the property and make it safe for those occupants, because that lead dust, if it's left in there, it is a hazard.
Okay. And so to check if your contractors are RRP certified, maybe check on their website or just even ask them. Is there a certificate they should produce or anything like that?
Yes, they all should have a firm certification number, which is registered with the EPA. You can also go to epa.gov/lead. There's a link on there where you can search contractors within a radius of your zip code to determine if they are RRP certified.
Okay, great. I think that was really, really helpful too. Again, just to know that when you do, get some of this work done, that you should be looking for that certification number too. Right. So we're just about out of time here. What I want to do, I know we covered this nice flyer here in your brochure. Is there any other message you want to leave our viewers with today about lead-based paint poisoning?
Just that if you live in a house before 1978, the best thing, make sure the kids get tested. A lot of pediatricians don't really ask for it, but you can ask as a parent to have your kid tested if you live in that pre-1978 house. And check, there's resources online, and we're definitely a resource as far as education for parents to help keep their family safe.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
You're welcome.
I really, really appreciate it. This topic, like I said, is very scary to me. And I do know, again, these numbers are staggering. The number of homes in Erie County, again, 87,000 homes built before 1978 and about 8,600 that are pre-1940 rentals in the city of Erie. So there's a lot of people that are affected by this, and again, should contact you, but if they don't meet the income qualifications, they just need to take their own steps to start mitigating this on their property and making sure who they hire again, is certified and educated on how to do this properly.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And one more time, what's your contact information?
We can be reached at 870-1540 or at redeveloperie.org.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Viewers, again, lead-based paint poisoning needs to be taken very seriously. There's a lot of homes in Erie County that may not have been renovated yet. And if that's one of your homes, please, again, go to the Erie Redevelopment Authority's website or check out the EPA link that we shared with you a little bit earlier. But again, the Erie Redevelopment Authority is providing great grant funding to help you mitigate this problem. And if nothing else, just ask your pediatrician or your doctor to have your children tested for the lead-based paint poisoning. So again, viewers, thank you so much for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. And until next time, have a great day.